Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another STAMPtember 2021 video. Today it is Avery Elle. As always with the Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember exclusives, once these are gone, they are gone. Avery Elle has in the past done I don't want to say super similar, but kind of the same general idea, and they always are some of my most favorite. So this is a very simple card. This did not take me very long, and I decided not to speed up the video at all. I know if you're watching this later and not the premiere, it might be kind of slow, or maybe I shouldn't say slow since it's real time, but more like alive. And that's just because for the premiere, I like to give us a little more time to chat. And truly, if I sped this up, this video would have been less than 10 minutes long, which is very, very unlike me because this is an easy card to create. And I think this is something you could do with mini stamp sets. And so I went ahead and kind of left it in real time, and we're going to talk through this because I bet you have some stamp sets at home. Does not have to be holiday. You may have fall leaves. You could have florals. This is a technique that I like for anything like that. So I am starting with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of Bristol smooth cardstock. We're using Bristol because I am using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers today. These markers play so nicely on Bristol smooth cardstock. It is my very favorite cardstock to use for the Zig pens. In fact, I won't use anything else with them. I am using my Misty to stamp that large image from the Avery Elle STAMPtember Holiday Wishes frame set. So in this set, you get this beautiful floral frame with all this great greenery and like the little red berries. And then you're also getting 4 sentiments that fit inside of the frame. So very versatile. I'm going to use Happy Holidays. There's also Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Peace, Love, and Joy. I really love that there are different options for this. And I think this is a kind of card that would be great to replicate many times. I would more than likely stamp and emboss a bunch of panels and then mask and stencil a whole bunch of panels, and then finally color them, and then you can add sentiments. You could even customize the sentiments and use different ones on each finished card if you wanted to. Now, I stuck really traditional with greens and reds today. I am going to incorporate a little bit of pink. I don't even know if I caught that on camera. That's the other fun fact of the day. My video camera card was full, and I missed a little bit of the coloring. However, it's a lot of repetition, so you will see most of it. And I thought I wasn't going to refilm it since it is a lot of repetition. Now, there's something else that happened, and I'm glad it happened because I think it's good to mention this in the video. I missed a spot. I missed either inking it up or pressing it down. I've already added my embossing powder. What do you do? Down there in the lower right corner, I cut off some of those berries. So what we're going to do, we are going to go ahead and heat emboss what we've got. This is why I keep my stamps in my Misty until I'm done. Until I know that, or I'm far enough in the card making process to know that, no, I don't need to restamp that. This all looks good. Because I've left my background in my Misty, once I have embossed this, all I'm going to have to do is place my panel back in the Misty exactly how I had it before, and I can restamp. And I'm really only going to concentrate on that one corner. I haven't even cleaned my stamp or anything yet, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just apply the embossing ink to that one corner and press it. But because the stamp still has a little ink on it, there might be ink in other areas. So definitely is something to keep in mind, but it is going to turn out fine, and I'm not going to have to either restamp this whole panel or anything to that effect. So you can see, I hope that you can see in the video the embossing. I know white on white is hard to see. White probably is what I use, I don't know, 90% of the time for this technique. I also really love antique gold, but I would say more often than not, I use white. because we're using white, I like to find a way to add some sort of color to the background, and that can be challenging. It often looks like coloring the background with markers or a paintbrush and water and ink. Things that all take a little bit of time, right? I did not want to do that. I wanted to do something quick and easy. Here I'm fixing that corner. And my go-to, in fact, if you are watching my other video for today, which is Hero Arts, I'm also using the same stencil on that card. So on my blog post linked below has links to everything, but I have one video here today on my channel, and then I have another video over on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel, which is awesome. So you can kind of go both places and check them both out, because Simon Says Stamp is featuring two companies today, and the other is Hero Arts, and I'm using this stencil on both cards for a very similar look, just completely different images and different types of coloring. So I am actually using the Waffle Flower Stencil Matte back behind. I love this thing, you guys. It is so good. Holds your stuff in place. Now, this largest A2 stencil, rectangle stencil, is kind of big, and I still felt like I needed to tape it down in one area to hold it in place. But normally I haven't been using any type of tape with this stencil. I'm going to take the new Simon Says Stamp PEARFECTION Pawsitively Saturated Ink, and you can see I'm using a pretty heavy hand. I'm going to go around the perimeter of this design. If some of the ink gets onto the petals and things, that's okay. It is going to be totally fine. The zig markers will cover up anything that maybe overlaps. I'm going to try to avoid the image. I'm not just going to go straight in and do embossed resist or anything like that, but I'm not going to worry about masking. I know I have said this so many times this month, but it is true. If I can avoid masking, I will. And this gives you the illusion of that matted panel without the extra work. And I'm all about that. That means more cards are getting made, the less time I have to spend fussy cutting. We're going to go around the entire perimeter of this mat. And when I pull it away, I think it looks kind of bad, honestly, right now. But when we pull away the mask and you can see that matted area, and especially as we start coloring in the beautiful frame here, you really get the idea of how pretty this is, and it frames up the image perfectly. So I'm just kind of working to make sure that I have a very nice stenciled frame. You'll notice I did concentrate a heavier hand of ink right around the corners, and when I peel it away, it still looks pretty awful, quite frankly. I couldn't remember when it starts looking good. It's probably when I start adding the coloring itself, but that is just the way it goes. So we're going to start coloring in the leaves and berries. I am listing the colors I'm using across the top of the screen. For the most part, we're using 5 markers. I am going to use 2 shades of pink for the candy canes, but otherwise it's 3 greens and 2 reds. All my favorites. So for the red berries, that is Carmine Red and Light Carmine. For the greenery, so the smaller leaves, I opted to do dark green, and that is green and light green. For the bigger leaves, that's going to be light green and yellow green. Now, I started out coloring, and I actually didn't incorporate water for the berries. They're pretty small. That's kind of my gauge, if you will, for if I'm going to use water or not. Now, I accidentally smeared something and then I smeared it worse, and I did not want to start over. Look at that. I completely smeared that red berry. I left this in the video because I think it's really important to show you how to fix things, because this happens to all of us. Every single one of us does something like this. So I'm going to grab my water brush pen, and I'm trying to pick up some of that ink and then wipe it away. And I'm just kind of dabbing with a clean corner of my cloth. So I've done that once. I'm going to make sure my water brush pen is clean. I'm going to kind of paint it again, get it wet, grab a clean corner of my cloth again, and pull that up. Already it looks better. Honestly, I left it like this. I'm going to let it dry. When we come back, the way I disguise this is I'm adding some embellishment at the very end of the video, and where that little pinkish smudge now is where I'm going to add a little sparkly star. So try to find ways to either fix, so I kind of did a combo, fix or cover up. There is my dark color combination. So there was a little dark green, and now I'm doing a light green next to it. And I like the two different tones of green here. I think they add a lot of interest. Light green and yellow green is one of my very favorites. I would say this color combination mimics the PEARFECTION Positively Saturated ink from Simon Says Stamp really, really well. Now you'll notice that for this, I'm tracing with my dark color, pulling that color out a little bit with my lighter color, and then I'm going to go in with a clean water brush pen, and I'm going to blend out even further so it has more of that watercolor type of effect. Leaves are one of my favorite things to color this way because I think they just really end up beautiful. We are going to continue this all the way around. You will notice that I just kind of gradually turn my cardstock panel and work my way around. So back with the berries, adding a little bit of the dark, which is our carmine red. Then we will blend out with light carmine. And this time I'm going to be super careful to not smudge anything and get aggressive with my microfiber cloth or anything like that. As always, I do try to keep my hand out of the ink. The Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers are going to stay wet a little bit longer than your alcohol ink markers are, quite frankly. If you put your hand in it and drag your hand across your panel, you can smear the ink. It's really disappointing. I have done it so many times, and there's not a lot of good ways to fix that. So I've had to start over more times than I can count. So I have learned over the years, just move my panel. Just keep turning, keep twisting, and don't put my hand where I've already colored. If you have to put your hand where you've colored, I highly suggest taking a scrap piece of paper and placing it under your hand over the part of your project you don't want to smear, and that way it protects the work surface from your skin. So here I am just going to work my way a little bit more. I think I do color a few more panels on camera. I will tell you the candy canes. Funny story, I did not even know there were candy canes in this image, you guys. I guess I didn't look at it that close, or I just didn't notice them. I really didn't notice them. I thought they were leaves, I guess, until I got to coloring, until I got to that point of the video, or yeah, in the video, I got to that point coloring, and I was like, wait a minute, there are two candy canes. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to introduce another color, because while I love the look of red and white candy canes, the red and white isn't going to be very showy on this particular card design. And so I thought, wouldn't a red and pink candy cane be cute? Pink is not going to detract away from the red and green feel of the card. And in fact, I think it adds such a nice little modern-ish touch to this card design. This is a super doable technique too. I've tried to show an assortment, and I will continue throughout the rest of the month of Stamptember. I can't believe we're only just barely halfway through Stamptember. We still have a lot to go, but I've tried to show a variety of coloring mediums, a variety of techniques, some cards that take more time, some that are a lot faster. And I really thought, even though I missed some of the coloring of this card, so this video is what, 23 minutes long or so. The only thing I believe that I left out of this video was part of the coloring. So you add that coloring in, this card probably only took 30 to 40 minutes total. And I wish I would have not missed part of that because it really would have been nice to be able to tell you exactly, but I just know from what we colored already, it doesn't take that long. There's a look at the finished panel. How pretty is that? And now that green frame really looks great with all the coloring of the image. So I have a piece of Hero Arts Meadow cardstock here. I wanted to do something different in the center. I don't want to leave it white and I didn't want to color it. So I'm actually going to stamp this image again on this scrap of cardstock. I don't need the whole image, so I'm not going to worry about whatever kind of is being cut off. I just have a scrap. And I'm going to stamp this, sprinkle on my white embossing powder, and then heat set the frame. I'm not even going to worry about the embossing powder getting on everything I've already stamped because it does not matter. Now, before I add the white embossing powder, I do need to pick my sentiment. And I know I moved the panel down and I'm zoomed in for the coloring. I probably forgot to zoom out, so I'm sorry. But we're going to pick Happy Holidays. Remember, there's 4 choices total: Peace, Love, and Joy, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays. We're just going to pick one, and then I'm going to stamp that with the clear embossing ink as well, and we're going to sprinkle on the white embossing powder all at one time. And I must have really felt like I didn't get that stamped very well because I stamped it a couple times. Even though I can't see it, I can see that I'm shutting this, and I probably did it like 3 times at least. Okay, so we're going to grab our white embossing powder now and sprinkle this on. And here's where I'm talking about I didn't worry to cover the whole thing. I just need the frame, that rectangular frame, and the sentiment to have white embossing powder. I want to make sure I don't miss any of it. Tap that off, and then we're going to grab our heat tool again and heat set our sentiment. And I love how the white looks against the green of the cardstock. You could also choose red if you wanted to. I don't know, I just really felt like using green here today. I was in a green kind of mood, I guess. Now, originally, so around the center, it's a solid line, and then like it's a dashed line outside of that solid line. And I kept both lines. I actually took my paper trimmer, I trimmed it out, and I think you lose that detail if you want to do this technique where you're adding an extra piece of cardstock on top. If you want to color in the center panel with your markers instead, I think it would look fine. But when I do this, and I left this in because I think it's important to show you this, it just looks messy. I did not like it. But when you get to this small of a piece of cardstock and the paper trimmer, I don't think that it's easy to put it back in the paper trimmer and fix it. So what I'm going to do is take some scissors, and I'm just going to cut right outside the solid embossed line of that center panel. And it ended up working out fine. Lots of problem solving here. I find when I'm doing like a longer video, I get to talk a little bit more, not longer, slower and not sped up video. I get to talk a little bit more about problem solving and things you can do, and kind of more of the thought process behind maybe some choices that design choices I make. So there, I thought it looked messy. I just did not like it at all. I've got these long shears from Tim Holtz. They are fantastic for this because you can really just kind of line it up along the edge, and I'm not having to like cut along. I'm just, placing my scissors there and then just cutting. And that solid line looks so much better. And then what would be a card without some foam adhesive? I mean, I probably use it, 99% of the time. So we're going to pop up that middle panel with some foam adhesive squares. And then we are going to decorate the rest of the card and add those finishing touches. And I ended up adding quite a few little finishing touches here today, more than what I had originally planned. So I want to talk about that a little bit as well. That's going to be some gold matte star confetti, which is something I use a lot and I love it. I think the little touch of gold and sparkle in the background is fun. Of course, we're going to have a little red heart accent. I'm sure everybody here knew that was coming, because I thought on that green panel here in the center, we of course need a red heart accent. So there's our middle panel. Isn't that so pretty? And then, so I added all of that, and then I was like, well, you know what? I think we need a dotted border inside that solid line. And so I'm going to use Nuvo crystal drops to create a little dotted border. First up, we have our heart and confetti. I'm going to move my stencil mat out of the way. I'm going to use the Barely glue to add a little dab there for my red heart, and we're going to pop that guy in place. And just that alone, honestly, probably a little simpler, I think it's so fun. You can see the red smudge from my mistake. It's down there in the bottom left. So we're going to cover that up with the gold star confetti, and we're just going to scatter these throughout the card. And I don't want it to be super obvious that I'm covering up a mistake. So you'll notice that I am adding them throughout the entire card design, some on top of the image and some in the outer border, kind of around the image. There's going to be a nice assortment, but because that one is covering up a smudge and kind of overlaps the image, we want to repeat that in a couple other places so that it's nice and balanced. And I generally use that small tip, not the sticky tip, when I'm doing confetti, because mine's a little sticky, probably from use, and I find it works a lot easier. I generally add several dabs of glue at a time, and then place those stars or sequins or whatever embellishments down, and then I will add a few more until it looks just right. I just want a nice kind of even sprinkling of gold stars throughout. And that really looks pretty good. I'm wondering if maybe I did not catch the Nuvo crystal drops on camera, so quickly I'm going to talk about that. I took the white gloss and I went around first and tried to evenly disperse the droplets. So in all four corners and then kind of in the middle and around. And then in between all of the white drops is where I placed the red. And the red that I'm using is Red Berry. So simply just little droplets of red. I'm going to show you a finished photo of the card next to give you an idea. So here's what it looks like without the little dotted frame. And then this is what it looks like once I added the Nuvo crystal drops. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this STAMPtember video featuring the Avery Elle exclusive limited edition stamp set called Holiday Wishes Frame. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Simon Says STAMPtember that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.